When Mark Zuckerberg bought your company, he pledged to let you work independently. Has he lived up to that?
Mark has been true to his word and then some. Still to this day, Mark's interaction with the company basically is through meetings with me. And I've learned a tremendous amount from him about our transition to advertising, about our transition to a more global community, about strategy. He's one of the most interesting strategic, long-term strategic thinkers I've ever met. Think of it like having like the best board member in the world. I mean, imagine how many companies would love to have Mark Zuckerberg on their board. That's what we get, and it's independent, but also you get amazing guidance and amazing counsel from someone who's been able to build a tremendous company.
How open has he been to your ideas? I mean, do you think he's learned anything from you?
I'd love to ask him that. No, I think for sure. What he quotes sometimes is that Instagram's focus on community and craft was, I think, fairly different than a lot of tech companies at the time. And, you know, Facebook has this like ship love mantra on the inside. And I think a lot of that came from Instagram's focus on the consumer and focus on making our community great. So I'd like to think that we influenced Facebook, but it's kind of hard to say that for sure. We'd have to ask him.
What have you learned from him?
Some of the things I talked about before about strategy and understanding your place in the ecosystem. I think, you know, our transition to advertising was an interesting one. I was of the belief that if we had fewer advertisers, they'd be higher quality, and it actually turned out to be the opposite. If you have more advertisers and you're able to bring in an entire ecosystem where they compete against each other in an auction, you actually get higher quality advertisements. That's something that I didn't realize at the time. And I remember him saying, I felt the exact same way when we introduced advertising, and it turns out there's this other thing. I was able to learn a lot from him there.
You mentioned you meet with not just Mark, but also Jan and Brendan.
Yeah.
How do you see Instagram taking advantage of some of the more futuristic things that Facebook is working on, like virtual reality?
Well, if our vision is to make you feel like you can travel anywhere in the world in a fraction of a second and experience whatever's happening in the world, imagine a day when you can put on a headset and be at a Coldplay concert, seeing something happen like a big protest or a big riot anywhere in the world, or something as simple as a friend's wedding. That's the kind of experience we'd love to create, and I think virtual reality in the coming years will play a critical role in seeing that vision come true.
How about artificial intelligence?
Well, we use it today. I mean, that's what powers advertising and making sure that we have the right amount of targeting.
Do you see more of it in the future?
Oh, for sure. I mean, one thing I've learned through the history of Instagram is that the more personalization you have, if we can have an experience that caters to you, the individual, if we know your interests, if we know what you engage with, we can use machine learning and artificial intelligence to make a much, much better experience for you on Instagram.